Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A happy Memorial Day Monday to all of you folks out there. I'm Jason Leyva with the Fort Worth Community Arts Center, and we would like to welcome you to a holiday edition of Boxed Lunch with the one and only Pro Joe, Joe Brown, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing out there today, Joe?
Good. I guess we're at noon now. Good afternoon, Jason. I just think what you're doing with these box lunches and the Fort Worth Community Arts Center is just so much fun and so great. And I had looked at some of the videos from some of your first Fort Worth famous people in the arts and said, okay, I know initially when we talked, I said, I don't cook much. I think I'll just have a glass of wine. But then when I saw all the good food that they were doing, I went, okay, we're going to have to do something for this. So we will do something for this when we start doing it.
Well, when you mentioned it, you motivated me as well for a liquid lunch. So because it's a holiday, I've added a little bit as well. So I'm a Bloody Mary fanatic, but we'll get into that later.
Okay.
First and foremost, Joe, do you mind just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who and what you are?
Oh, the 5 W's: who, where, what, when, why. I mean, I also teach speech. Well, I'm Joe Brown. I have been at Texas Wesleyan University. I start my 43rd year there this fall, and I hope we're having face-to-face classes because this teaching theater virtually is quite a challenge. I start my 43rd year there. I ran Theater Wesleyan for 22 years. And then for the last 17 years, I have been what we call the Dean of Freshmen, basically making sure that all freshmen that come to Wesleyan adjust from high school to college. If there's a student that's got challenges, I'm kind of a faculty liaison. If we've got a kid that's suddenly not going to class, that's my favorite part. I go down to the dorm and knock on the door and go, hi, you're in the dorm and you're not going to class. So, and just this year, I have said, you know, I want to phase back into theater. So I am now the Assistant Dean of Freshmen, still doing that, but I'm directing again, and I teach stage makeup and scene painting and scene design, all the stuff that doesn't need a computer. And I'm currently president of the Live Theater League. I was president for about 4 years before I became the Dean of Freshmen, and now I think this is my 2nd year to come back as president of Live Theater League. The joy of being in Fort Worth, I went to SMU to grad school for theater and 43 years ago, and wanted to be a teacher, and I loved the Metroplex. And I said, this school has an opening. What's this Texas Wesleyan University? I mean, it's like, oh, there's another school besides TCU? So there is another school. We have 2 very fine private schools, but always want to be a teacher. And at the time I came here, that's when all these theaters were starting. We had Casa and we had Hip Pocket. And then suddenly we had Jerry Russell in the corner Pocket Sandwich. And then we had Rose Pearson with Bill Newberry. And then we added and begat and begat and begat. And I directed at Fort Worth Theater, which was originally housed in the Community Arts Center. The center was built and they moved in there. So I really had the joy of, I think Sharon Benge, who's really the grande dame of theater in the Metroplex, and been so involved in other theaters. And then I'm kind of next in line for seniority within working with the different theaters. So it's just been wonderful. I mean, like with Circle Theater, you go from when you're coming back, Red Right, the play that they did in a little restaurant, and then they moved over to the Circle, and then they moved over to Magnolia before Magnolia was Magnolia, and then they moved downtown, and Theater Wesleyan helped them in all of those moves. We just always had a strong connection with the various theaters. And of course, now you have Main Street, new energy there with the Stage West building their new space, and Amphibian going great guns now that Main Street is done. Jubilee Theater started across from Wesleyan. I was painting their lobby when they were there, and then they moved downtown. So, you know, I guess I'm wearing my live president of Live Theater League hat now, but the thing I do love about Fort Worth and Arlington and HEB, the theaters out there, we all really work well together. We share resources. We call each other if they need an actor or they need a costume or a prop. Right now, we're having virtual meetings for Live Theater League where the producers are all sharing ideas about WTF, are we going to open? Yeah, I didn't say a bad word. I did WTF, when are these theaters going to open in these times? So I always wanted to teach at a small university where you wear a lot of hats. So theater and Dean of Freshmen, and I'm a sponsor of a couple of groups. And now the kids know me. My theater kids always knew me as Papa Joe. Now I became Pro Joe, Professor Joe, Pro Joe. They don't even know my real name is Joe Brown. It's just like, oh, go see Pro Joe. He can help you find more money, or he can help you get that textbook. Or I work a lot now with our international students. They kind of call me their father because, you know, an international student coming over here and they leave their family and their culture and their traditions, and they come up to the United States, to the American education system, they need some parenting. And so they teach me more than I teach them, but I can tell you about any religion now and any culture, and they're a joy to work with too. So kind of what I did in theater, working with the theater kids, I just take those lessons and put them now with all the freshmen. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, a true living legend. I can remember whenever I first moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area about, I guess it's going on 15 years now. And anytime I needed anything, everybody said, do you know Joe Brown? And so I was just so flattered to meet you. And you have lived up to everything that everybody has ever said. So it truly is a blessing to have you in the community of the arts here, and what a leader you are. And I again, I'm just so flattered that you took the time to join us today.
Well, I mean, it's a mutual admiration. I mean, you and I go way back. I think we first met at Artisan Theater.
That is true.
And but you know, I'm so excited that you're at the Fort Worth CAC because you're trying to find new energy, and Community Arts Center is now a member of the Live Theater League because you do produce theaters there separate from Stolen Shakespeare Guild and Tarrant Actor Regional Theater, which both use the Sanders Theater. And the play readings you're doing online, and this thing we're doing, the box lunch. I mean, yeah, you all have really stepped up to get creative in this time of COVID. I feel like I'm the one that's interviewing you right now in your kitchen about what we're doing, because it's all some pretty great stuff that you all have kind of been slightly ahead of the curve on, as we all wrap our heads around streaming theater and smaller shows and all this stuff we're trying to figure out with the future. Yeah, we're just
trying to platform artists and keep the communication going. I think it's one of the most important things that's going to get us through that. So enough about us. What are you making for lunch today?
Okay. Because originally I said I was going to sit here and drink a glass of wine, and you were going to have a think of Bloody Mary. And then when I saw all this great food that the different people were either bringing from local vendors or making, I said, okay, I'm going to make, I'm not a cook. Growing up, I learned how to bake cakes because my grandparents raised me. My grandfather always wanted me to bake cakes for him to take to his grocery store. So I can bake any kind of cake, but I never really learned how to cook. I can fry an egg. I thought about, I could do a peanut butter and banana sandwich, or I could do a fried egg sandwich. But I do make, people have told me they really like my cold chicken salad. And I started making this when I was at SMU in grad school, because I kind of figured out, I didn't know how to cook, but I kind of figured out how to make things that I could fix on a Sunday and just eat every day of the week. So I don't know, I think this chicken salad is somewhere in a Betty Crocker cookbook, but I've been asked to fix it for some weddings on little croissants. And so I said, okay, we'll do this. I moved out of my kitchen because I just kind of have plain cabinets. So I thought, all right, we'll move in where I've got more natural daylight. And I have 10 dogs, so I have 4 of the dogs are allowed in this room with me. So if you hear them barking, it meant that 6 of the dogs hear someone out on the golf course. So with all the critters, or you may hear one of my birds screech around. So because I've got parrots and I've got cats, and so I do a lot of theater, but I love animals. I do a lot of animal rescue. So let's see, I forget. Should I kind of talk about what this is going to be and assemble it real quick, or what's the process here? I need a little directorial help here, Jason.
All right, well, I'll kind of lead the way and then you can follow me. So my stuff today is, I'm just making a very simple BLT, and I've already fried the bacon, cut the tomatoes and the lettuce. But more importantly, I'm also going with a liquid lunch today, which is my
Memorial Day. We're celebrating Memorial Day.
Absolutely, one of the best holiday treats right here. And I'll be making a Bloody Mary along with that BLT as well. So when I talk about ingredients, if you look right down here, I've just basically for the BLT, bacon, lettuce, and I think I misspelled tomatoes. I'm falling apart on the spelling.
Tomato, tomato, potato, potato. What the heck, you know?
More importantly here, when I make a Bloody Mary, I feel it's very important to have the, now there's some debate in this, the 4 major food groups. I grew up in the 70s, so we only had 4, which I think is basically meat, dairy, fruit and vegetables were 1, I think, and then grain or bread. So I've got a little bit of that.
Potatoes and bread. Potatoes and bread. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna show you real quick kind of what I've got going on here. This is my Bloody Mary ingredients. So I make some little pre-made skewers to put those in there, and I've got some cheese and bacon and cucumbers and olives. So I think that's the majority of the 4 food groups. More importantly, vodka. You can't make a Bloody Mary without vodka. And I even tried very hard to go local. So
I started saying, is it local? All right. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I tried to find a Fort Worth vendor there. I got curbside delivery, which was great. Blackland vodka and the good old-fashioned Zing Zang there as well. So that's my ingredients. And why don't you talk a little bit about the great stuff that's going to be in your chicken salad?
All right, so I'm all set up at a little table I keep in my larger TV room. But my chicken salad, I have I got 2 large chicken breasts, and you boil them, and then I think the trick to my chicken salad is I boil the chicken breasts and then hand tear them where they are shredded versus cut. I've done both, and I learned, no, I need to tear my chicken breasts up right after they've come out of the hot boiling water, and then they can go into the refrigerator and chill for whatever. So, and normally I would prepare this the evening before the next day so everything's cold. So the basic ingredients are chicken, and the beauty of this, you can add stuff. If you don't like what I've got, you can take away, but I use green grapes that I've cut in half. You can add red grapes, they're seedless. Some chopped celery. This is a little different thing. Some raisins. You got to have pecans, not walnuts, but pecans. Sometimes I have put strawberries in there. I thought I had strawberries and didn't. Sometimes I put fresh cherries, but basically it's white chicken meat. And so there's a lot of crunch to it. Celery, raisins, green grapes, pecans, and then here's the trick. Because I don't like chicken salad that's, I guess it's what's called wet. I like dry, where you're not overdoing. Because I'm not a big person with dressing, because you kind of defeat the purpose of healthy food if you put all this oil and fat. So my dressing, hold it up to the camera, Joe. My dressing is really like the Miracle Whip Light and honey to taste. So I think that's the trick, is the honey is what gives it a sweetness. And then, like I said, I used to make this on a Sunday, and it would get me through 5 or 6 days. So it stays quite a while in the refrigerator. But I brought my COVID gloves here. I use them for prepping anyway, but God, I'm not going to talk about, I'm not a doctor of proctology. I'm putting gloves on to mix the food, because what I like to do is I throw all these ingredients into this big pan, and then I just mix it. I don't use spoons. You use your hands, and for sanitation reasons, I was actually able to find these boxes of these gloves at Sam's since we've gone into COVID. I mean, stuff's really hard to find. So basically, I'm going to throw all my stuff together and just start mixing it. If you want to be doing whatever you do on that too while we talk.
Absolutely. And while
I think I can, we all have COVID brain, so multitasking is a little hard to do sometimes. I'm still teaching.
I hear
We've had
you.
virtual classes that we do from the computer. Like all universities, we all had to adjust quickly. So we have a video platform that is similar to Zoom. It doesn't have quite the features of that. I know TCU faculty and theater had to we all had to learn how to do this stuff pretty quickly. If you're doing theater, boy, that's the challenge versus a traditional class. But you know, it's what we do with what I call that COVID brain and trying to reach out to people. And I've gotten really good with Zoom, 5 o'clock Zoom happy hour. There's a group of faculty that we constantly at 5 o'clock on Saturdays had a Zoom happy hour. I've gotten a group of my kids that they're all, oh my gosh, these are my students that they're like 48 and 49 and all over the United States. And so Sunday evenings we'll have a Zoom happy hour. One's in California, one's in Washington, one's in New York. We all get together. I mean, you know, the thing about this COVID is people are talking and actually Zooming in more than when we had real lives. I feel closer to people now than I ever have.
Hey, Joe, can you talk a little bit about what you've learned about yourself as an educator or a live theater league leader during all of this?
Well, you know, it's funny. We've had a lot of theater. A lot of my students are now high school and college theater teachers now. And oh, I forgot. Got to have apples for this too. So it's chicken, celery, red grapes, pecans, and apples. But in talking to my kids that are theater educators and stuff, everyone's kind of going, you know, you got to be patient and you got to have compromise. You're not going to do what you'd hope to do. We're all learning. We're all learning about this virtual platform stuff. I'm going to sit here and take my gloves and mix all this stuff together in a bowl. But, you know, right now, you know, you hear about the sports and they're going to start playing sports but not have an audience. Okay, I guess they're going to stream that. But, you know, I hope the arts make this through. I mean, they talk about small businesses, some will go under. We constantly are meeting in virtual meetings with Live Theater League and that all the theaters have had to postpone shows or cancel shows or change their season. I know the mayor's committee in City of Fort Worth is Christy Howard at Jubilee Theater sits on that committee along with the Bass Hall people. And, you know, what does that mean when audiences come back? How far apart are they going to be? Will they wear masks? What about the actors? And what about an audience? Well, you're not going to sit in the front row of a theater if the actor's close enough that you would be within their airspace. So income, you know, equity, salaries, how far apart, 25% audiences, 50% audiences, when can you reopen? I know Stage West had a show that opened the first weekend and closed the first weekend when they shut the city down. And the show was fully ready to go, so they figured out and got permission through equity to tape it. And they then sold tickets through Vimeo so that you could watch the show and bring a little income in. You got theaters that do a lot of summer stuff with kids theater. What's happening there, just like camps. It's about income stream, depending on what that theater has as a nest egg or could borrow within the special government loans. So they're all meeting to just talk about, and again, when the theaters can reopen with limited capacity, you want to go see a drama? No, you're going to want to go see something that we've been, you know, we want to see live theater. How much Netflix can you watch? But I don't think anyone, I think they still want to escape within comedy or musical. I don't know, but data shows that audiences that are theater goers, concert goers, that enjoy live entertainment will start coming back, but they're going to be careful. I think some people may wait and let shows start back and see what the data says about COVID before they decide to go. We are in pretty well agreement that most audiences will probably bring a mask, or we may need masks for them in the house. But what about the actors?
Right.
So our learning curve is changing every week, depending on what the data with the virus says and does, and reopening. And that's part of what Live Theater League, when we have our meetings, we have a meeting this week to talk about how do your patrons feel safe? Do you want to, you know, how often within the public areas, the lobbies, the restrooms, 6 feet apart, normally your restrooms in a theater will have to be, some will have to be taped up and spaced because of social distancing. So that means a longer intermission for patrons. We're all in a learning curve trying to anticipate. And I think at our live theater meeting this week, one of the subjects is going to be, if you are thinking about streaming to get income, what should be the platform you use? Wouldn't it be better if all the theaters in Tarrant County, if they're doing something like that, have the same streaming service, so that a patron can not have to relearn how to click around. If it's, hey, I'm 67, so I'm one of those. It's like, okay, I can figure this out. But when your average audience is 50 or older and 60 or older and in a high risk group, and then figuring out, oh, well, if you'll go, you can watch the Stage West show, but you're going to do it through Vimeo and you have 3 weeks to watch it. Well, okay, what's Vimeo and how do I get to it?
Yep.
So we have to educate our audiences about what's protocol if you're coming to the theater, bring a mask. So we're really kind of meeting to see, kind of compare what we're all doing for a better platform of education for our patrons in the Fort Worth, Arlington area, because like for us, Live Theater League is like Artisan Theater, which is in Hearst. You've got Theater Arlington in Arlington, and then predominantly the Fort Worth theaters. So we're all sharing the same audience base, and they're kind of like, well, at Jubilee they do this, but at Stage West or Circle they did this. So we're really talking about, do we kind of want to have the same ideas of policies to not confuse our patrons?
Sure, sure.
Okay, I'm taking off my gloves.
Very nice.
No one saw me mix this salad. Let's see if I can tip this down.
I was going to say, oh, starting to look pretty good there.
Yeah, I'll dish some up. You tell me when it's time to dish up, and I'll dish up.
I'm going to show you mine here as well, and show you a couple of ingredients that I got going on here. So I just put a little bit of vodka and then a little bit of mix. And now I'm gonna drop a little dash of Worcestershire.
And I'm just gonna pour straight from one jug into another for the wine.
Really. And then I'm just gonna tap a little bit of Tabasco in there as well. I love a good spicy Bloody Mary. This is my fruit from my food group. Just a little bit of lime juice in there. And my secret ingredient this week is celery salt. I learned this from the Canadians for a good Bloody Mary.
Wow.
And it is absolutely delicious. I think they call their Bloody Marys Caesars. And so this was a tip I learned in my time in Michigan. So I always just put a little sprinkle in there. And
why are they called Caesars? Do we know the story behind that?
I don't. Do you?
Huh. No.
Yeah, no, they just.
I'm not a big mixed drinker, so I mean, I'm not a big drinker. I don't smoke, all that stuff. So I don't know.
never had time for stories when the Canadians were talking. You had to pay attention. You had to get right to the matter. So, and then I just dropped my little skewers in here as well. And again, those 4 food groups are essential for a good Bloody Mary. And then I just give it a little stir and then set that to the side there. And I was curious, Do you have any secret ingredients that assure deliciousness for that chicken salad?
I think it's the honey mixed with the mayonnaise that gives it what people go, oh, this is really good. And because it's, I'm gonna put some on a plate. And again, people say, well, how much of what and what? And I go, I don't know. I don't have like one, I think it might be for one chicken breast, one apple. I don't know. I just kind of do it by color and texture. The apples have the red peel on them. And let's see, how's that camera?
Very nice.
It's better looking than what it looks like in the camera.
It looks absolutely gorgeous. There's some beautiful color there. Nice mix. All of it.
The celery, a lot of crunch. The raisins, pecans, the celery, the apples. Some people use the whole chicken. I like to use the white meat. I think it has better flavor for this. I've added cherries. I've added strawberries before, but this is the basic one. Apples, pecans, raisins, celery, and shredded chicken breast. So with depending on how dry or wet you like it, as long as everything's been coated with the mayonnaise honey base, it's going to last a long time. The apples don't turn brown in the refrigerator or anything.
Very nice. Joe, here's what I love about you. You studied your questions. I didn't even have to ask them. You went over like the entire itinerary and you totally crushed it all. And you even got your lunch made. Like this is exactly why you are who you are. Pro Joe Brown. There's no doubt about it. So
I'm a teacher. I'm a tech theater guy. I have all these scripts playing in my head. So let's see. I'm gonna tip my camera down and sit on my bar stool here.
This has been the easiest interview yet. I knew I could count on you. So I do have another question for you. So you've talked a lot about community resources that you're seeing being used. Can you tell me a little bit about how to get to those? Like, are you seeing any websites? Where would you like people to go to be able to find some of this great information?
Well, I know right now, I mean, because we're all working virtually, if you livetheaterleague.com, if you put in Live Theater League of Tarrant County, Live Theater League of Tarrant County, that will take you to our basic web page, which we don't have. I mean, Linda Lee, who was with Texas Nonprofit Theater for years, is a dedicated member of the Live Theater League, our treasurer. She maintains our website voluntarily. And so there are links there for all the other theaters. But right now you're going to click on any link and say, stay tuned, or this production's been canceled. Please stay tuned for more information. Because no one has anything that's about to open right now. They're kind of waiting to see, all right, if we're lucky, can they open in mid-June? I was at a virtual meeting with Artisan Theater. I'm on the board of Jubilee. Everyone just keeps moving stuff around because of what the guidelines say or the Fort Worth City guidelines say. So in terms of resources, I don't know if I could clearly answer that because most of the theaters were fortunate to get the bank loans that if they keep their employees, they're forgiven. Stage West is actually building right next to their main theater. They totally got funded a second studio theater that they're in the middle of redoing. Right. COVID has not slowed down the construction, but and they got lucky. They had raised the money for that before this hit, so they haven't stopped their construction. But they don't have any shows right now. Right. The smaller Circle was lucky because they were right in between a show, so there was a month that they were dark anyway. Amphibian had a little bit of time, but it's still income stream. So basically, they're going to their smaller banks to get those for what I call forgiveness loans. I'm not a business person like that. And then we as a league have been meeting about every 3 weeks on a Zoom account just to share what each theater's doing, how you're doing, what are you here, what do you know of the resources. Fort Worth has always been a very generous city within the Amon Carter and Sid Richardson and the F4 foundations. So we share those resources, but basically everyone's waiting to see when can we open. And if you're an equity house, meaning you're paying equity actors, you need a certain percentage of audience. So in this time, if you're a theater that is more community-based or does not have to have a full equity contract, you can afford almost to open at 25 to 50% capacity, but an equity house can't really do that. You know, I get Broadway at the Bass tickets, and Bass Hall is not going to be up and going till September. So those different tickets are being credited back, or you can volunteer to give your ticket to someone else later. They're trying to reschedule everything, just like every venue is. So we're just hoping that all of our member theaters, same thing for Dallas theaters, can make it through this, and everyone's looking at doing smaller shows because your actors need in rehearsal to stay 6 feet apart. I mean, the whole rehearsal process, I know theater, TCU, UTA, Wesleyan, we were all in the middle of our spring musicals when the school shut down. So we all have shows that are half built, half costume.
Yeah.
That most of us at UTA, TCU, and Wesleyan, we're hoping to mount those shows as the first fall production. They're just kind of sitting there half frozen. But what does that mean in a rehearsal process? Yeah. Or if you're in an orchestra, are you 6 feet apart? You know, we've seen these great orchestras that have been zoomed in, but what does the rehearsal process mean? For Wesleyan, we're going to take the kids' temperature. We're going to have hand sanitizer there. We're going to have masks. They're going to rehearse in masks till we open the show. No one had, there's no, you know, no one's ever done this before. We're all learning from each other. Yeah. You can't do a big show because you can't put 12 actors in Stage West. I mean, that's a large show for them, but everyone's looking at smaller shows for the cost and the spacing of the people. We're looking at shows that might be more like in scenes of actors and do some special stuff created that are different scenes where the actors don't have to cross-pollinate so much. Right. To give live. I mean, we're all figuring out what to do. Yeah. So is it a resource to go to? No, with the Live Theater League, we have a lot of meetings and share what each other's doing and learn from each other and read the publicity releases to see, oh, what language are you giving to your audience? Oh, well, can we borrow that language too? That sounds really good, and the way you phrase it to your audience. We're just sharing our resources by literally having a great rapport with all the producers, directors at each of the theaters here.
Well, I think that is a resource in itself. Yeah. And even the crafting of a message is very important, because I think the unity that we see in the Live Theater League is really going to be their strength. And then being able to come out of this with a united message and hopefully a plan, I think will really enable them to get to it, as I say, quicker, with a conformity amongst one another should certainly be able to help them once that message and that plan is in place. So I have a feeling the guidance will be coming from the government, the state. I really think that they are struggling to try to determine what that message needs to be. I'm really glad I'm in their shoes. I know it's important for us, but they're, I'm assuming, trying to get their ducks in a row as well because of the not only urgency, but the importance of that message when it does come out. So,
and I know within the mayor's task force, which has a rep from Bass Hall, you know, the chairman of Broadway at the Bass, I'm forgetting right now, I got COVID brain, but reminding our city leaders that, remember guys, live theater is not cinema theater, and you've got to keep our theaters in mind that just like a small restaurant, when you open, it's like that idea of spacing. You've got to be sensitive that we don't want to lose the living arts. When Bass Hall is the main home for the symphony, the ballet, the opera, and Bass Hall is shut down, just like Fort Worth Community Arts Center, the large space, well, okay, please be sensitive to what the smaller arts group, the galleries, the theaters, need to know that you're aware of our challenges, as well as the big groups such as Dickey's Arena, Bass Hall, the Convention Center that has more space. So, and they're listening. I think they're listening.
I agree. I really do. And it's going to happen. You can slow us down, but you can't stop us. And it is one of the things that I love so much about art. Not only are we able to be creative on a stage, I believe that these community leaders with these theaters are also just as creative off the stage. And I just can't wait to see what we come up with and again, watch that unity come together.
Well, and I got my Live Theater League hat on again, but this is Jubilee's 40th year. Rudy Eastman, we lost many years ago, sadly lost, but it's their 40th year. And here we're waiting to see, oh, how do we celebrate that? We may have to delay. Hip Pocket, one of the first theaters I ever saw when I initially discovered Wesleyan, was way, way out of a motel on Highway 80. And it was the Lake Worth Monster that Johnny wrote in the motel. Well, ironically, Hip Pocket season is really when summer gets here, and you go out there for the joy of that. And it's kind of ironic, I think, that I don't like hot weather, but I go out there because you need to experience the whole persona. But because of the heat and the humidity, Hip Pocket's actually probably theater producing environment is safer, from what they say about COVID, than some of our smaller theaters that are interior with air conditioning. So Hip Pocket is looking at, trying to start their season within the summer guidelines. And we're all just kind of waiting to see what that means. But yeah, if this delays Hip Pocket, this would be the first time since they got started, like 45 years ago, that they would produce a show within the history of all our theaters here. Yeah.
Yeah, it truly is. It truly is. All right, Joe, are you all good? You plated up and ready for presentation?
Yep.
You all set and ready? I just wanted to point out here that I know a lot of people would question my bread grouping when I talked about the 4 food groups. So I actually just take these little crackers, and I know people think I'm crazy, but I just dunk it right in the Bloody Mary as well. It makes a great little stir stick. So, I'm so grateful for you to take the time and visit with us here at the Box Lunch program. I hope you stay safe out there. I can't wait to continue visiting with you off camera at the Live Theater League. I am certainly very anxious to see how the educational components pull together as well, moving into some of these fall semesters. And if we all stay united, I think we're going to be just fine. And we'll come out of this with some very valuable lessons learned, I believe. So any final comments for the people out there watching us?
No, the new normal. Again, I just love what you're trying to do with outreach for Fort Worth Community Arts Center, which is, of course, where the original Modern was, which was where Fort Worth Theater was. That building is a wonderful building. The lobby was designed by a famous Broadway designer, and that building has a lot of history too, where you work once you're allowed back in the darn thing.
Yes.
Waiting to see. So this has been just wonderful. I look forward to seeing you Thursday when we have our meeting, and I wish you a very happy Memorial Day, virtually happy Memorial Day. Yeah.
Same to you, Joe.
All righty.
Everybody out there for joining us on behalf of the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. Have a great Memorial Day. Stay safe out there. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram. Check us out at the YouTube channel as well. We've got some great content there. And with that being said, bon appetit, my friend. Take care of yourself, Joe. Enjoy your holiday and stay safe out there, all right? Bye-bye, everybody.
Jason.
Take care.
See y'all. Bye-bye.